Welcome back, current and future disc golf addicts. We're going on another mini road trip as a part of my 2025 summer visit to Washington. We find ourselves at Columbia Shore Disc Golf Course, just outside of Astoria, Oregon, playing on the northwest tip of Oregon, next to the ocean. Hole 1, we're starting off with a pretty friendly backhand hyzer hole. As long as you avoid the inside corner, you will find yourself up there for a putt. Hole 2, we're throwing into a fairway of trees, so I'm trying to throw my wraith here. Just out to the left, have it skip back in, and find somewhere center cut fairway. And with myself having lost my go-to reco on my trip to Caliber Disc Golf, I've been bagging this Lucid Mercy ever since, because that's the closest I found at home for my old stack of discs. So been relying on that there. Columbia Shores, what I learned very quickly was that there are plenty of birdie opportunities and not too much bogey potential out there, because there's not that much OB unless you find yourself off the rough, and not too many tight gaps either to hit, which was nice. A little bit of an early release here on hole 4 again with that Thunderbird, so just pitching up and then tapping in my par. As we move on to hole 5, you do have this low ceiling gap, but I end up ignoring that altogether, throwing the spike hyzer. Now, because we are on the coast, it is very windy, and I did not expect how much that wind would actually pick up my disc and have it travel left. Same with this approach shot too, very poor, trying to give it that little bit of a nose up floaty bid, and the wind just catching it and flinging it up into the air. Hole 6 also, we'll get a look at how much this wind is actually affecting my very overstable defender, but even then holding it forever off to the right. Fortunate enough still to fade out before it finds those rock walls on the shoreline, and throwing a forehand harp, fighting against that wind. Just a touch shorter than I would have hoped, and unfortunately chaining out there with those heavy chains on the Mach X basket. Hole 7, getting a chance to rip on one of my new discs that I would have acquired during this trip in Astoria, Oregon. Some of you beer drinkers might recognize this Vortex IPA logo on the disc from Fort George Brewing. Definitely worth a visit if you're in the area. Long hole, happy there to learn a little bit how my new disc flies. Hole 8, we're looking at a 290 foot flex forehand. Another newer disc that I bought used actually, this Henna Blomroos Thunderbird. Nice and domey, glidey, but still reliable fade. Trying to throw a flex forehand. I remember this tee pad specifically had a little bit more sand than I liked, and so I tried to use very little of my lower body and more arm in that shot, and that's partially why it ended up coming so short there. Throwing my justice here, a little bit inside. Fortunately, a little bit of technical difficulties. This is where my drive landed, maybe 20 feet from the basket, but ended up hitting some of those guardian trees and not even getting my putter chain height, but just walking away with the par. This hole I'm trying to throw a flex shot with my Ahti. Undercommitted, ended up hitting this center fairway tree that was defining the gap, and walking away with another par. Hole 11, we have straight headwind, 355 feet. Still trying to learn this new Halo Wraith. Surprised to see it flip over as much as it did. Still unsure whether it was more my throw and lack of clean release, or whether that was the wind fully flipping it over. Hole 12, we're trying the same here. And so seeing it flip over there, I figured it would be perfect for another headwind. Still controllable, but get good distance. But this time it ended up holding over too long and finding the right side rough with a pitch out. Even though I'm jump putting this, not giving it a bid, just trying to have it land close with that basket being elevated on that little ridge. Hole 13, playing straight back towards the water. Headwind, making sure that I want to get that nose down so that it's not getting up into the wind. On the skip though, it did end up catching it and flinging off to the left with a very tricky left to right wind on this putt, and not surprised to see myself miss right. Hole 14, 430 foot hole, very strong right to left, so that's why I'm leaning on this forehand here with my defender, trying to put some flex on it, throw it out to the tree on the left and have it fade back. This was a very cool hole, throwing next to some of those cannons that were used to defend the coastline during World War II. Hole 15, we have 205 feet. Not much of a gap here at the start, but you are trying to throw into this very tight gap, and low ceiling as well, where we're tucked into this little valley here, or dugout. And just pitching up there, walking away with a par. Hole 16, we're looking at 1,040 foot par 5. Blind tee shot, right to left wind, everything in our favor. So I end up landing center cut fairway, disking down to my leopard, trying to find that fairway. The gap felt pinched off, so I'm trying to throw it at this right side, and with that slower speed disc, not get too much skip. And now it's green light with my Wraith, knowing I have to move it left and play that wider rim to skip towards the basket. Just inside circle 1 here. Fantastic opportunity for birdie. Little high left, so it does chain out. And the second one, I thought that was good too, but the basket just did not want my putters to stay. Hole 17, 340 feet. Still not sure if it's the intended line, but I saw this inside gap and punched my Explorer straight through it. Didn't fade out as much as I would have hoped, but nevertheless found myself up for a putt. And that's really been my goal this entire time, was get some birdie looks, avoid those bogeys. Hole 18, I end up throwing my forehand a little bit too high and getting kicked straight down by one of the Guardian branches. And walking away with my par. Hole 19, tight gap just off the tee. Doing really well to shape it a little left to right before having it fade back into the fairway. Trying to stand back off my disc a little bit to give some space for that hyzer, and in the moment I actually didn't even realize that I had clipped that bush in front of me on that spike hyzer, and was surprised to see me come up short on the approach. Risky run, even longer comebacker. But that confidence in the putter has really been helping me score well out on some of these courses. Hole 20, left to right wind, wanting to keep it low so that it doesn't flip over too much, but just threw it too low in this case. And now just wanting to make sure that I put it close, making sure that I don't expose the bottom side of the disc and have it catch the wind. Hole 21, 412 foot hyzer. I wanted to give it a good rip, but this is just outside of my comfort zone and distance that I would expect to get. So now I have this long jump putt, but I do need to putt it over these trees. Tried landing it flat, ends up hyzering out a little bit, but also fortunate to not end up further away than it did with that wind catching it. Hole 22. very awkward branch in the center of the hole early on where you need to throw under it. I'm trying to throw this flex shot, pull it early right, having to scramble now. Just throwing the same disc on a forehand hyzer now, aiming it out left and trying to have it skip back towards the basket. And very fortunate there for a great second shot to walk away with a par. Hole 23, 200 feet, short hyzer, trying to throw a backhand stall shot with my berg, trying to scare the basket. Do pretty well on the ace run there, but with that little bit of a mound, I do find myself a little further away than I would like, and that wind not really helping that disc stay in the basket there, leaving myself with a -3 on the Columbia Shores Disc Golf Course near Astoria, Oregon. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.